we've got Mike Herbig with FourCores.
Next on Eternal Durdles.
Extreme thank you to all the Durdlemaniacs that support the show. If you want to get ad-free content and extra free content, you can go to patreon.com/eternaldurdles and support us. Proceeds go to editing the show, upgrading equipment, and helping us travel to events. What it do? Hello and welcome to Eternal Durdles. I'm your host, Zach Clark, and with me this week we have a special guest, Mike Herbig, friend of the cast, but also creator of a pretty cool app for the Sorcery card game that we're going to check out today as well. But before we get into that, Mike, I have a couple of questions. First question being, what do you think of the ban restricted announcement for Legacy?
Yeah,
and for vintage, for that matter. You're a vintage guy.
Yeah, I've played a lot of vintage and legacy in the past. To be honest, I watch a lot more of coverage. I watch your podcast. I watch Brian Cook's channel a lot, so I know what's going on, but I haven't played. I think it makes sense from like an outside observer. It looked like a pretty miserable card to play against.
Yeah.
I think at some point, things like Frog may be in consideration, but yeah, I'm not a legacy expert by any stretch at the moment. But yeah, I think it's exciting and more diversity. I was looking at, people trying out combo decks again. So, that's something I always love to see. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons why, I bring up this topic, especially for the Sorcery card game, is because it has so many of its roots in like old school Magic the Gathering. And I know that's a passion of both yours and mine. And that's, I think, kind of what drew us to the game specifically, is that, that old school look, the hand drawn art, and the kind of more a slower pace of gameplay, I suppose, is the best way to put it. But you've created here an app, sort of a companion app for the game, and I wanted to kind of highlight that because it's a pretty cool piece of technology.
Yeah, for sure.
Tell us about it, of course.
Yeah, so Sorcery is a really cool game. If you love old school Magic, if you love like hand painted art, and yeah, like you said, that kind of like slower paced, like OG kind of Magic style. There's a card that you blow onto the table and it destroys anything it lands on. You get to play with cards that are reminiscent of the Moxes, although they're not quite as powerful. It's a different game. And then also like it is like a lot of strategic depth to it, so it kind of hits on everything that I really enjoy about card games and Magic and gaming in general. So one of the things I've been working on is with every game, Magic has a ton of applications for anything that you could do. And what I wanted to do is build on that, an all-encompassing app for looking up cards, building deck lists, in-game, keeping track of the various things you need to. And Eric's Curiosa, the company behind Sorcery, they have their own offerings as well, but I kind of wanted to build one that was a bit more mobile focused. And then anyway, more diversity and more applications and things that spread the game, I think is super beneficial. So this is FourCores, FourCores.xyz, and it's a mobile and web app. I kind of optimized it for mobile specifically, just because I'm essentially building, as a passionate player of the game, I'm building something I want to use. I get a lot of feedback from users and things, and take that in consideration. But like, it's really like comes from a passionate love of the game. And so if we look at it, it's on Android and iOS as a native app. You can go to fourcores.xyz/install to find the App Store links to that. And then it's also, if you can log into the same account and use the fourcores.xyz domain if you're on desktop or tablet even, and it has a better or a more desktop optimized UI. First thing is, there's kind of standard things you need, which is like a card search. You can look up. It's very fast. It's clean. I'm a bit of a minimalist, so You can click in and get card details, and then the card details also includes links to TCG player prices, and how do I get out of here? You can go to TCG player. You can see the various versions of it. Right now, mostly alpha and beta are the two sets. And then, FAQ rulings about the card, links to the artist page. A big focus of Sorcery is also kind of like highlighting the artists in a big way. And
Yeah, of course.
yeah, and you can see this art is by Melissa Benson. Like, there's a lot of the kind of like original artists from Magic are involved, which I think is really great.
They just released a video of Quentin Hoover's son
Yeah,
talking about some stuff he's sort of added to the sorcery canon from his collection.
yeah, I saw that. Quentin Hoover, like original alpha Magic the Gathering artist, who passed away about 10 years ago. It was a really powerful to see his son really
Yeah.
being proud of his father and his art kind of carrying on. And yeah, I love this game. Like, that's a great part of what I think Eric Skirisa is trying to curate, which is awesome. Yeah, and you've got filters. You can filter by artist, filter by all of the types and subtypes. If you are familiar with Magic, the game and learning it does come quite naturally. It has a lot of similarities. It is played on a grid, like almost a 5x4 grid. So it's like chess and Magic
Yeah.
melded together a bit. Oops, let me see. So yeah, that's kind of the first kind of like basic feature.
Yeah. Card
Um,
lookup. I mean, it's
yeah,
necessary if you want to be able to search for stuff to build decks with, right?
yeah, exactly. And like any mobile app, you can search links to the or share links to it and things like that. So it's kind of like a standard kind of basic feature. Another thing that is super useful is creating deck lists. So Eric Skirisa, they do have the deck list creator. I wanted to create one that was, like I said, more mobile optimized. And one of the uh, kind of benefits of that is you can you can search, you can autocomplete for cards. If I'm looking for a card, I can like set how
Nice.
many copies in the deck. Um, and actually, if I'm looking at cards in particular, say I'm looking at Adept Illusionist, I can also add that to existing deck lists that I already have built. So it's kind of integrated in that way. So if I want to just add it to one of my decks, um, and then the deck lists. This is one of the more recent features I've added. There's still a lot to work on here. I want to like add more sorting and more kind of like favoriting and things like that. Yeah, and you can edit and copy, delete decks. Eventually, at some point, you'll be able to like look up deck lists by specific users and share them in that way. There's a lot that can be done, with this. And again, yeah, you can click in to see details of every card in your deck list in the same way. And yeah, so
Well,
that's that. Yeah, go ahead.
let's talk about the to me one of the most useful parts of this is the sort of like life counter
Mm-hmm.
situation. Let's look at that because that's really like I think that's the thing that like people are really gonna gravitate towards because oftentimes when you're playing this game, keeping track of what's going on can be difficult if you don't have something set up for it.
Yeah, the game has a lot more going on, like you said, than in Magic. You have obviously life total. It's similar to Magic. You start at 20. The goal is to get them to 0. But you also have threshold, which the Magic equivalent is like what color of lands you have. But it's a bit different in Sorcery, which I don't need to get into, but keeping track of how much of each element you have on the board is kind of a task. So
Yeah.
this allows you to keep track of that. There's also a mana tracker. So when you play a site, a mana resource, you can increase it and then use it, and that's because in this game you don't tap your resources sideways. So like you need to either keep it in your head how much of your available mana you've had, or you can use a simple tracker to keep track every turn. Super beneficial. It just keeps you, it streamlines the game. And then, I've added, kind of things like dice rolling, which I think is really cool. There's a number of cards that need randomization in the game. And then, there's just other kind of things like a two-player mode, like if you want that. There's a 4-player. Recently, some folks were asking for a 4-player mode because there's a 4-player version of the game. So try to add in things that like people find useful.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a number of counters like this available out there, but maybe I'm biased. But from what I've seen, I think it's the cleanest. And
yeah, the UI is amazing. This is very, very clean, very sleek.
Yeah.
Very, very demure.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, like I said, I'm a bit of a I don't know, minimalist or
yeah.
So like I even have like you can customize it. Like let's say you're someone who doesn't use the dice, you can just get rid of it and never see it again, and
nice.
things like that, which I just really kind of like that customization while keeping it pretty minimal. So
I have a couple points.
Yep.
First point is do you have a TCG affiliate through this? Because if you don't, you should get that.
I do. So I have an API key and an affiliate code. I'm not actually at the moment. I didn't bother, putting in an affiliate cut just because, I have a very low amount of users. At some point, that could be the way that it
I mean that I mentioned that because that's that's a great way for people to support you beyond just downloading the app. And then I have two wish pieces here that take or leave. One. Philosopher's Stone counter. So like, be
funny
like, oh, look at that.
We do have, so it's not a counter per se. I know counter, but this is what I added is basically like when you have Philosopher's Stone, for folks not familiar with the game, it reduces the each spell by one of each element, or each card plate of each element by one. But when you're doing a turn, you might forget that you even have this card in play. So I just it's literally just a toggle on or off. So when you look at your mana, you're like, oh, I have Philosopher's Stone. And then if it gets destroyed, you're like, nope. So yeah, that's a good thought. Yeah.
The other one is, can you somehow, so this is my biggest gripe with the game. I love the game. It's super fun. I could sit here and talk for hours about how great this game is.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, lugging around that board.
Yeah.
Like you got to lug around this playmat that is larger than a normal size playmat. So like, keeping that with like, if it was the same size of Magic playmat, or you could guarantee, because like you're teaching this to people normally, right? You need a big you need the whole playmat. You can't have like half a playmat. If you could somehow find a way to make it so that the iPhone laser makes a a board,
I mean, I think that would be cool. That's one of the things. It's like, yeah, you have to have one, and for both players. And if someone accidentally shows up and didn't bring a playmat, which I've had happen, then you just like can't play, or you play awkwardly on a table.
Yeah. It's just one of those things that like, I joke because that's a level of, but that's one of those things that like, this is a perfect example. Like this is a problem with the game that I think you're doing a great job of solving here. Yeah. And the other problem with the game to solve is like, can someone just make it so that like I don't have to drag that playmat around with me all the time? Because it's necessary. It's like having something like that peripheral is necessary to play the game, but it also is like a key factor in how it is hard to. I can't just bring a deck with me like I can with Magic, which is sort of a bummer. Like I can.
The playmats. There are single player playmats, but there's problems with that. Like if you bring,
I have to bring two of them.
Yeah, you have to bring two. They have to bring one, and also there is a card, Chaos Twister, which depends on, or it like changes based on how large or small the squares are. You know what I mean? So there needs to be a standard square size.
Yeah.
So that's a good thought. I thought about specifically with Chaos Twister trying to build an app that the card needs to be dropped from at least a foot above. I wanted to make an app that would either green light or red light you where your hand position is, and like grid lines from an app is interesting.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah, you just like have like a standard, like if it all it was like, you had a and like, I don't know the technology behind this, but if you just had like a stand that you put your phone on, and then like, it right in front of you, and you're like, okay, as long as it stays here, between my chest and where the thing goes, right? And then everything is fine as long as it's on the stand. But that's battery power is being dragged out, and it's a whole thing. It's even if there was just like a light grid that like was a laser pointer that could stay on or something,
Yeah, exactly. Just like Mission Impossible your way around the
a pair of glasses that has it.
Oh yeah.
I just have to stay really still.
Yeah. Make a Google Glass app for to show you the game board or something.
But the app is so that was all the parts of the app, right? I didn't interrupt
so then
you.
There's also there's a content page.
Oh yeah, that's huge. That's huge. So that you can stay up to date with all the other content creators that are doing stuff for Sorcery. That's amazing.
There's
and there's so much happening right now because there's a new set coming out. So
they're doing spoilers. There's a new set based on Arthurian Legends, which I think is really cool. It's kind of like it's a lot of this game is like a throwback to old school Magic. And Arthurian Legends is very heavily based on a vibe of Magic the Gathering Legends. There's these big awkward, 4 or 3 color like legendary in the game terms creatures, which are all the Knights of the Round Table. But it's also like kind of like the other side of like Arabian Nights. It's the Arthurian Legends, British.
It's just big mythos, it's just like we're not. It's like a very wide net vibe for like if you just know this like basic mythology, right? Like Magic's done that with Arabian Nights is a classic example, and so they have some Greek mythology type stuff in there. But this is just like, look, the IP for King Arthur is in the public domain. Like, we can do this, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. They're doing spoilers. Or they've just wrapped up, like a couple weeks of spoilers. So there's a lot of like, cards we know about from there. This is just like various podcasts. I take some of the top Reddit posts.
Maybe this show will be on there one day.
Yeah.
This episode, right?
yeah, for sure. I'll add it in. And if other like content creators that do sorcery stuff want to reach out, I'm happy to add that in as well. There's a lot of cool like the smaller content creators that I still don't have in there. So
Well, this is awesome. So once again, 4cores.xyz, 4 spelled out. This is like if you play Sorcery, this is kind of a must get app, especially like nothing beats free, it's a free app. But like on top of that, it just makes the game so much easier to play. And that's what you want, that's what you want from an app, a game that something that just is a great companion to the game. So well done, Mike. I really dig this.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to, I don't know, pitch the app. I'm really excited about the game. The next or the first kind of like release or expansion for it's coming out in a month. And I think now is a really great time, if you haven't yet, to get into it and be kind of on the ground floor of
on the ground floor.
Game. So yeah.
I'm assuming I'll probably see you at Eternal Weekend. You coming to Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, awesome.
I haven't sleeved up a Legacy or Vintage deck in quite a while, but I'm going to and just kind of see how it goes. So
I'm going to try to remember to bring one of my Sorcery decks so we can jam a couple games.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
All right. Well, again, Mike, thanks so much, man. I really appreciate you coming on and showing us this.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Awesome. Have a good one, everybody. Thanks for watching. Before you go, I need some help. please subscribe to this channel and do your part to help sustain the legacy content ecosystem. Just subscribing to this channel goes a long way to reminding YouTube that people love and support this format. Now, if you really want to go the extra mile, you should think about supporting us through Patreon. Both the links for subscription and Patreon are right here. And if you're listening on an audio format, you can go to patreon.com/eternaldurdles. Thanks so much for watching.